Welcome to Inside Independence, a monthly show on Independence television, part of the township government. The show's goal is to inform residents of what is happening in our township. I'm Joette Kuntz. I'm a retired educator and a longtime member of the community. And today we are so pleased to have Aimee Baker with us, who is the Executive Director of the SCAMP Funding Corporation. And she's going to talk with us about SCAMP. SCAMP has been in the community for about 50 years. And they also have a special event that's coming up in May that we want to talk to you about. So, well, tell us a little bit about SCAMP.
Okay, I think it's important to talk about it because SCAMP used to be very well known in our community, and I think the generations have flipped a little bit, and new people have come in, and a lot of the new people don't know what we are. So we've been around since the late 70s, and we are a camp for individuals with special needs, and that's from 3 years old, and there is no upper limit. Many of the other camps in North Oakland County, they age out at 18. Almost none, I think none of them have scholarships or financial aid, so we have that. And we take people from all over. So we have people coming from as far as Ann Arbor, Farmington, Detroit, Royal Oak, because they get financial aid and they feel like their kids are safe here. So it's a summer camp for individuals with special needs. And basically the kids come in the morning, they have some general assembly time, and then the buses come and they're out for the day, and they're doing field trips like Urban Air, 4-H Fair, Clarkston Family Farm. They might go bowl, they might learn to go to the community and eat at a restaurant and learn how to order things. They have beach day at Oakland County Parks where they can get in the water, they can get on boats. Basically anything I can find for them to do, I nab, and then we also have art and music therapy.
So you did say a little bit about who can attend SCAMP, so 3 to whatever age you're going, and like how long is it?
It's 5 weeks in the summer, and it goes from about 9 to 2:30 in the afternoon. And I do want to say it encompasses a really large range of disabilities, from people who are wheelchair bound with ventilators to people who maybe look very normal on the outside but have some cognitive or emotional issues. Traumatic brain injuries, amputees, Down syndrome. So it's a very wide variety of campers that are all divided by age and by abilities and disabilities. And
there's, I think, well, I know you have many people who work with you for the camp, or work with the other division, which is really the camp. So is it is it sometimes one-on-one or 1 to 3, something like that?
We always tell people it's at least one-on-one camper to counselor ratio.
Okay.
Because if we have 200 campers, most likely we're going to have 200 staff. Now some of those campers who are older and maybe they're in the life skills program or something, they don't require a lot of supervision. But we also have other campers who require 2 to 3 counselors or people to assist them. Maybe they have behavioral issues, they're runners, they're whatever, emotional biters, they're whatever they are. So, our main objective is to keep our children safe. And so you are always with somebody, and we have many tiers, from the lead teacher, which is a teacher, to 2 tiers of adult aides, the parapros and other trained people, to student aides, and then to student volunteers.
Let's go to the aides and the volunteers. Many kids that have been through Clarkston schools or residents of Clarkston have participated as aides in the summer. That was their summer job. I was wondering, are you hiring these days?
We're always hiring. We're always looking, because the amount of people we hire, that's how we decide how many campers we can take, because we can't take the campers if we don't have the staff. And I will say that many of those student volunteers and aides go on into the professions of occupational therapists, physical therapists, social worker, special ed teachers. It's a very high correlation.
That's wonderful. So just while we're on this subject, if they want, your information is going to be on this show. So should they be contacting you, or is there
No.
somewhere else? Okay, so should they be
Everything
contacting?
is on our website for
Okay.
everything we do.
And so tell us your website.
clarkstonscamp.org.
Okay.
And there's just a nice tab that says employee applications, scamper applications, and then there's another tab for events, which would take you to my fundraising events.
Because there is, let's just talk about that. There is a fundraising corporation, and that's what you're the executive director of. And then there is the actual camp. And you work together, but there are two different pieces
Arms.
to it.
Yes.
That's good. So I did see those pictures from, I think Clarkston Family Farm.
Some from there, but they're from all over.
So but you remember some stories maybe about the kids in the farm? I mean, there's all those animals.
I don't get to go to the farm
okay.
because I'm the fundraiser.
Okay.
But if you ask the teachers or you ask the program director, they could give you lots of stories.
Oh, okay.
They don't let me out of the office very often.
Okay.
I just raise the money.
But you took the pictures, so that was good,
Yeah.
or had the pictures.
Yeah.
So you have a funding event coming up called Walk and Roll. I just want to say rock and roll.
And I think it's like the 45th year for that. It's been around a long time. And it's a little bit different this year. It's the one event I really like because it involves all the elementary schools in Clarkston, secondary schools too, but mostly elementary. And the kids take pride in earning money and then giving it to help somebody else. And so we go into the schools, we teach them what SCAMP is, and then the kids get pledges for running these laps or riding their bike or however far they are. And then they know, and a lot of kids in their class are scampers, not a lot, but they know who the scampers are.
Yeah.
And so it makes them feel really good to be able to give back and help. Yeah.
Now, sometimes, are the families still part of the?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is a huge event. I'm expecting anywhere from, 800 to 1,000 people to come to the event. And there's a DJ. We have a lovely gentleman with Down syndrome who is a phenomenal DJ. And we'll have inflatables for the kids and face painting and snow cones and cotton candy, and we give free hot dogs. And we have a dog contest, which is the highlight of the event.
Because dogs can go on this walk and roll.
Everybody brings their dog, and there are prizes, and they get big baskets for that. And there's a raffle for the kids.
So what's the date?
May 21st, it's a Sunday.
Okay, May 21st. And where, is it on your website where they should, or is
It's on the website under Walk and Roll, and they can go there to pledge money. They can go there for any details. It takes place at the junior high school, and registration or check-in starts at 11:30.
Okay.
Yep.
So if our family was going, how long would it, what kind of time commitment probably?
You can come in and just do a couple laps, pledge some money, and leave. The kids can play. It's usually over by 2:30.
Okay.
I'm going to say after the dog contest, people lose all interest.
Well, let's talk about the dog contest, because that would be interesting. So what is it? What does the dogs walk with them, I assume?
It's the waggiest tail.
Okay.
It's the dog the judges most want to take home with them, and the best trick. It's just
Okay.
a silly thing, but the kids bring their dogs, and it's fun, and and then after that we pull the raffle prizes, and it's just part of the fun.
Well, that's a part of that's part of the fun of being, it's part of the community, Clarkston community, 45 years.
And we have 3 other events that happen.
Okay, let's talk
after
about
that.
those.
Yeah, so after that, shortly, like 2 weeks after that, is the big summer shindig.
That's in June.
That's in June, and that it's a party that's you get invited to, but anybody can have an invitation. We're not picky, but that's usually what happens is somehow you come year after year, and then people add people to the list. But anybody is welcome, and that information is on our website for sponsorships or tickets if you just want to come. It's always a fun venue, and it's always great food.
And that's an event like a dinner or?
It's a dinner with an auction, a silent and a live auction, and usually just cocktail hour and
Meet
nice
your
people.
friends in Clarkston,
And
right?
it's different places every
Okay.
year. And then after that, we have our golf outing, which is in September at the Fountains. And I think that has been going on forever. the most loyal SCAMP supporters usually come to the golf outing. And then the Jingle and Mingle, which is the fanciest event we have, but again, it's a party that with the same type of thing as the Shindig. It just takes place in the first week of November.
So one is in the winter, one is in the summer.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because it does take money to have this, to be able to have this SCAMP camp, I guess it was SCAMP camp, and that with scampers. And
yes, and people don't realize, I think, that when you have that one-to-one camper to counselor ratio, my payroll is about $50,000 every 2 weeks. That's a lot of money, and then the field trips cost money, and then half of our scampers don't pay anything because they're unable to. So those are the scholarships, and then the other half pay a portion. It costs about $1,850 for a scamper.
For the 5 week
For the
program,
5 weeks,
which is,
but we don't charge that. We were charging $500 and $700 last year, and this year we had to raise the tuition for the first time in 20 years. So it's now $700 and $1,100 if you're out of district.
and I know that there's many people in the community who serve on your board.
Yes,
And
20.
20 people, and some of them have been there a very long time, and they all have a heart for kids.
They do.
And especially special needs kids, so lots of history there.
A lot of them have scampers or have worked at SCAMP in the camp, or they have relatives that have been to SCAMP. It seems to be a big connection that way.
Yeah, well, as I look at the names, I know, and you can see all of that on the SCAMP website.
It's all there.
And if you have any, there's a telephone number that will be on this video, and if you don't have internet connection, you can always call.
Yep.
And we appreciate having you today, and we hope that you will all come out to Walk and Roll, and grandmas, parents,
Dogs,
kids,
aunts,
cousins,
uncles.
yes,
We'll take them all.
and be a part of Walk and Roll, a great event in the community coming up May 21st, Sunday, right? Sunday, May 21st.
Yes.
And I forgot the time.
11:30
11:30.
at the junior high school.
At the junior high school there on Walden Road. So thank you very much for coming in
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Bye. May is Historical Preservation Month, and I'm delighted to have Sam Moraco, who is the President of Preservation Clarkston and a local trustee in the township government, and Steve Wyckoff, who is the, Clarkston Community Schools construction technology teacher.
Correct.
And there's two teachers, but
Yes.
you have been there the been there the longest, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the whole program. And we're going to talk today a little bit about the Bailey House, and that's on Sashabaw Road. That it's a big part of Preservation Clarkston. And I have to say that I am a member of Preservation Clarkston, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Bailey House, the family. There was Bailey Lake School, named after the Baileys. Whipple Lake was really Bailey Lake at one time, and so they were a big family, I think 11 or 12 brothers, and they came here in 1835. This house that you see on Sashabaw Road near the park is built in 1878, then it burned in 1878, and then it was rebuilt in 1878.
If that's possible.
Yeah, if that's all possible. So Mr. Moraco, tell us a little bit about why you founded Preservation Clarkston and what Preservation Clarkston is currently doing.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. Preservation Clarkston was actually mandated to become an entity because there were some local residents that wanted to found out that the Bailey House was going to be demolished to put in a sidewalk, which we all thought was not the best use of it. So we started working with the county to figure out a way to relocate the house. That was their preferred means of saving it if we were going to save it. And we had worked with the county to save the oldest barn in Waterford, and I've also saved one of the oldest houses in Independence. And when we started getting into it, the county really didn't want to work with one or two individuals. They wanted an entity to work with, so that if we were to acquire a piece of property from the county, that it would be going to a nonprofit, not as an individual person, just to make it a cleaner deal. So they kind of asked us that if we were going to seriously pursue saving the house, that we would become an entity. We kind of looked around at different organizations. Preservation, insert the town's name, is a kind of a common theme of a name, so we thought that we would follow along with that. There's other ones in Oakland County. So Preservation Clarkston was born with about a dozen people got together that all had interest in saving local landmarks and preserving the rural character of the community. So we did all the paperwork, got the 501(c) approved, and all in the time that we were working with the county to try to find a way to save the house.
So we're going to fast forward to, I'm not sure exactly when it was you started the project, but you have the Bailey House, and so what's happening at the Bailey House today, Mr. Wyckoff?
Well, we started pre-COVID. When we got there, we had to take everything off the walls, the lath, the plaster, the insulation in there. We probably went through, Sam, what do you think, 8 30-yard dumpsters?
Probably.
And I'm going to stop you right there, because I probably should have asked, as a construction technology teacher, so who are we talking about when you say we had to?
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's my issue.
Okay. Our program, our construction program, we have 9th graders through 12th graders. We do a little bit of masonry, we do a lot of carpentry. You know, we start with smaller projects, more like wood shop projects of
Formally.
birdhouses and toolboxes, work up to sheds, and we get out in the community and do some bigger projects. And of course, the Bailey House is the biggest project we've been working on. It has been a long, long time coming, because as I stated earlier, we started the demo before COVID, stopped, got back after it, and this year has been really the first year that we've done complete carpentry, and it's finally starting to make progress.
So talk to us about you. So you want to tell us a little more about the house, because it's a late 1870s. It has some decorative things that
Called a T-style farmhouse.
Right.
It actually, we were very fortunate, because the house itself, it was a pretty ornate house for its time. And it was a rental for, I heard, almost 50 years. So it's very unusual to find a historical house that hasn't been dismantled or updated and still has all the original pieces to it. So since no one ever invested in the renovations of the house because it was a rental, all of the original doors and wainscoting and woodworking and mantels and trim was all still in the original house. So some of the built-in flour bins and pantry cabinets that we were able to salvage were still in there. So we have a lot of parts to put back together. The kids took them all down and labeled them and shrink wrapped them all together, and we put them all in storage for the long term of it. Most of the parts were taken out of the house prior to us starting the project, prior to the school even being involved, because we didn't think we were going to be able to save it. We had spent over a year trying to relocate it. We were unsuccessful. It got down to right before they were going to call it quits and demolish it. Steve's ex-partner at the school, Jeff, he saw an article we had put in the paper, reached out to us, and actually the week before the demolition, we were able to get the county to give it a stay of execution so that we could try to come up with another plan, and that plan was to preserve the house in place, which was not the county's preferable way to do it, but with the persistence, we spent 3.5 years convincing them that it was a good idea.
Historical preservation takes time.
To get them to move the boundaries of the park, give us the house on a parcel of land just under a half acre, and then entrust us with the project in cooperation with a commitment from the schools. They agreed to do it, and so that led to a lot of it. So we had most of the delicate stuff removed. Then the kids, of course, took a year to take it down to the studs and redo it. So
when you find that, Mr. Wyckoff, you have tell us how it was built. I mean, tell us how this house was built, because I guess you've seen it from the reverse.
Well, it's a balloon framing where the studs are approximately 20 feet tall, and the floor joists are nailed to the side of the studs. So it's a little bit different than the platform framing that's pretty typical nowadays. But we had to bust through the plaster, get all the lath off, and we were trained with our respirators. We wore Tyvek suits. We had our safety glasses on. Some of those below freezing days when you're in those outfits, it's cooking. And it was thankless work, but I think that was great for the kids to do something like that for an extended period of time, because life's not always fun.
Well,
So
how many chimneys did we take out, would you say? Maybe 4?
3 or 4.
3 or 4 chimneys.
So those older houses, that the chimneys were the heating source, I assume.
Every
at the
bedroom
time.
had a chimney in it, and those were still hidden in the attic. So we had to get inside the attic space and take them down brick by brick and remove them from the house.
Yeah.
Well, I know that remodeling is more difficult than new construction.
Absolutely.
Do you want to speak to that just a little bit?
Well, that's one of the things that we thought was going to be really special for the kids, is that we would be doing some of the hardest and most complex construction with the kids, so that when they go out into the real world, they're not going to be intimidated by the project. So, like for instance, we had the students up there doing the roofing, and they were all on recoiling harnesses and had hazard fall training and safety training. But there were boys and girls up there doing a 12-12 pitches, which is one of the steepest pitches there is. So they've already done the hardest roofing that they would ever encounter in the trades, most likely. We lifted the whole back of the house off of the ground to put a new foundation in, which the kids all did themselves with just supervision. So that was something they may never do again in their career. So the complexity of the renovation well exceeds a lot of stuff that I did stuff on the Bailey House. I've been in the business of historical restoration for 30 years, and we did stuff I hadn't done yet. So these kids really got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yeah.
You talked about some certifications. So could you tell about what the kids? I'm going to call you Steve. It's easier. We're friends. Steve, tell us about some of the certifications that the kids did, because one of the first things was to put a roof on it, so to keep it, what do I want to say, safe, right? Or
Right.
dry.
Well, our first year students, we require them to get their OSHA 10 certification, and it takes a lot longer than the 10 hours they say it does.
Well, tell us what that is, because we don't all know what that is.
Well, that is a certificate that goes through pretty much all of the basic construction hazards.
Okay.
So they're at least aware of things and what the rules are. When we get done with that, we go into, it was certainty shingle certifications we did back when we were doing the roof. We made sure we went through that. They all got through it. The second year we go through OSHA 30. We started masonry this year, so the first year students get a masonry safety certification. They get their respiratory training certification. We've been through scaffold training with the Construction Association of Michigan. The Masonry Institute of Michigan has also came in and helped us out. So a lot of our kids, we've had 3 graduating classes, and their portfolios are incredible. We have probably, I think, 6 kids at Northern Michigan going into construction management. I think we have 4 at Ferris, 1 at Eastern, and 1 young lady is going to Wayne State in civil engineering. And then as far as going right into the work field, I think we have 3 union electricians, 2 union carpentry kids.
Apprentices or?
Apprentices, and 1 mason, and several of the kids just went into the field non-union.
Oh, okay. Well, that was one of my later questions, but let's answer it now because you get. So, how many kids a year do you see between the two teachers?
We have, I believe, 75 this year. Last year, I think we had 65. I think the year before that was a little heavier. And now enrollment this year is over 100, so.
Is that for 2023, 24?
Correct.
Going into. So is there still time for students to enroll in the program for next year, or?
You know, that's probably a counselor question.
Mhm,
I'm not
okay.
positive. I just know we're going to have quite a few students, and we actually have recruited one of the current instructors to come over and help us out.
So, so this is, if you wanted to talk to a counselor, construction technology is similar to signing up for gym. It's just a class in your schedule.
It is an option on your scheduling sheet.
And it is it a 2-hour class?
It's a 2-hour class.
2-hour class. So probably can't, I mean, you have to let one class go to take this, or to, yeah.
Well, we have incorporated math
Okay.
into the program, so you don't use 2 electives up.
Okay.
So that way
Okay.
you can get through all 4 years of the program and not use up your electives.
So you know, you have people going into the field, which is a field that I know, Sam, that you are in the field, the building field, and can you just tell us the need, a little bit about the need for?
There's a need.
Yeah, big need. I mean, right? I assume
There's a terrible need for trades in every field.
plumbing, HVAC.
Every contractor, we have about 50 different subcontracting companies that we use, and all of them are struggling to find good, competent, hardworking
Young people.
People that want to go into it. And most of those jobs are equivalent in pay to a lot of the college-educated jobs, and sometimes even more. So it's not you're not down. You know, you're not taking a pay cut to go into the trade. You actually may be making more than if you got a degree in something else.
Well, Steve, the other piece of it is whether it's what's your do you have a ratio of men to women? I know you have both girls and boys in the class. I mean, fewer girls, but maybe.
We have 5 freshman girls in the class this year, out of the 75 kids.
Okay, so not all the kids are going into construction, but they all will have homes someday, or apartments, or some kind of living
Absolutely.
sources, and so they will all gain from this, I assume.
I don't think, you know, of course this is my biased opinion, I don't think this is a bad for anybody. I think everybody should take this class. Everybody, like you just said, is going to own a house. They're going to live in an apartment. They got to live somewhere. And they need to learn to take care of.
Where the sewage goes, and where the drain water goes, and how the
Yes.
heating system works, and
Just basic hand tool knowledge. I mean, you'd be surprised how many grown men and women don't even know what tools names are growing up,
Drills.
or let alone knowing how to
Yeah.
use them. A crescent wrench or channel locks, or your everyday tools you're going to need in life. They're not familiar with them.
very common sense course
Yep.
in some ways. So let's go on. So let's talk about where you are back to the Bailey House. Now you've kind of, all the demolition is done.
For
Yes.
the most
And,
part.
Yep.
and I noticed that, can you talk about the basement of the Bailey House? I noticed there was a lot of rocks in those pictures that the viewers will see.
Well, it's a stone foundation, okay? And the floor at one point was dirt, and now it's about 2 inches of concrete. A few places we've cut that.
The basement you're talking about, right?
Basement floor,
Mhm,
yes.
okay.
We've cut out the concrete and poured some footings down a little deeper so we could beef up the existing floor with some I-beams and some poles, which was, you know, that was interesting because the beams are about 20 feet long. What are they, 8-inch tall?
Yep.
And the kids are bringing them in through a window about this big. So you know,
And
there was no crane to
There
do
are some
it.
pictures of those, yes.
So that the basement is really, really very cool looking. I would never ever finish that if I didn't have to, because I would love to look at those stones.
It's a Michigan, is it a Michigan basement? Is
Yes.
That, but, okay. And you know, I think the early builders used everything they could find, and most of it was the rock that was in the soil, and we have a lot of rock.
We're very fortunate. We have a lot of rocks in
Yeah,
Clarkston.
we have a lot of rocks
No
in
shortage of rock foundation
Right.
supplies.
So were there some problems that you encountered with this house? Because there's always, you know, there's always something you didn't know as you went into it.
I think the fireplaces up in the attic was the biggest surprise. And you know, Sam was talking about how difficult it is remodeling a house. And you know, when you're up there chipping away the brick on a chimney in your Tyvek suit, and the bats are literally flying between your face and the chimney, you know,
Yeah.
that,
A lot of bats.
A lot of bats.
it's
Well, they,
a little
okay.
different.
Well, I think the lack of foundation for the great room was our biggest challenge.
Yeah.
So we
as-
we found out that the big wing off the back, which is about 30 feet long, it's going to be the great room kitchen addition, part of the house when we're completed, didn't have frost protection under the stone foundation. So to bring that, in Michigan, once you do 50% of a remodel, over 50% of a renovation, you have to bring the house up to the current standards of code. So now we're sitting with a wing of the house that's 30 feet deep and 20 some feet tall, and it doesn't have a frost protected foundation on it. So that's the part of the house that we lifted up in the air, and then we took the stones all out from underneath it. We put in new foundations inside the house with 3 steel beams about 30 feet long, recreated a whole entire new structure of platform to set the house back down on, and then just this week the union guys came out with the kids and finished up putting the stone foundation all back up underneath it. So it still appears that it's sitting on the original stone foundation, but it's actually held up by 9 separate foundations inside the house itself that the kids added.
So that is something that, besides the teachers, you do have professionals coming and working with students. Can
yes.
you tell us a little bit about that?
Local 2 masons came out and helped us with the foundation, like Sam was saying. When we do the mechanicals, we have to have a licensed person help us. I think when we got up to the very, very tip top of that 12-12 pitch, we had a professional roofer come in and take care of that, because there wasn't going to be anything for us to tie off on. So yeah, we need licensed people to help us.
So if we have any viewers that are licensed
Mechanical contractors,
uh,
mostly or specifically, so
yeah.
plumbers, electricians, and heating and cooling contractors are the ones that we can't do without their help because they're licensed. So some of the reason why we need to do fundraising is because we need to be able to compensate some of the crews that are specially licensed to help work with the kids, you know, and show them what to do, and then take responsibility for the work that's done. So it's just a few trades. The rest of the stuff the kids can do most of the work, you know.
And so we're at the end of this, we're going to have a page with how to get in contact with Preservation Clarkston, and then also your email, Steve, at Clarkston Community Schools. And so people couldn't, if you are a licensed contractor that would be willing to help in some areas, you need to talk to Steve Wyckoff at Clarkston Community Schools, or Sam Moraco at Preservation Clarkston. And we
need a lot more than just the mechanical help.
Yeah.
So we're actually, the drywall company that's agreed to work with us is a past student of the program.
Wonderful.
So all of the trades, trim carpentry, painting, we're going to be looking for residents that have a knowledge in those types of things to just come out and work. We have a carpenter that comes out regularly who's retired and works with the kids to get the framing done and stuff. So if there's anybody that has knowledge and is sitting at home and wants to participate, we welcome them to. It helps Steve out a lot too in the field because he's got so many kids there that if there is an adult that understands what they're doing, it frees up Steve to do additional projects with other students at the same time, because it's hard to get 10 or 15 students doing the same exact chore.
So let's go back to the house. I mean, the school year is winding down, but in September, what are you going to start work on?
Well, right now, we're trying to wrap up all the partitions inside. We should be able to get that knocked out by June. We've almost got the whole house wrapped in OSB. You get the Tyvek on there. We are starting to set the windows on the back side. I don't think we'll get around to the front until fall, but it's going to be buttoned up, and it's going to be a lot warmer next winter.
Wonderful, because it has been cold.
Yes.
Yeah, mostly the exterior is going to be the next priority, is to finish the outside. So all the windows are on site. They're reproduced historical windows, so they look like the right historical windows and everything, and then the siding. So that can be done in conjunction with the interior mechanical work, but this is probably the biggest step I think we've taken, where
Right.
we're going to have the whole entire house is going to be done with all of the partitions and framing changes, and we took a whole second floor out of one wing of the house to make it a 2-story great room, so that is a huge change to it.
So can you give us the view of the house when finished? What's it going to look like
Inside?
inside? Well, inside.
So
outside,
it's
but-
going to be a 4-bedroom home, 3 bedrooms upstairs with a full bath, and then a balcony that overlooks the great room below that has the lake view that faces the water. It was a bonus room that had a floor. We took that out. We're putting in a whole 18-foot tall wall of glass in the back facing the Bushman Lake from the great room, and that'll flow right back into the kitchen area when you come in the side door, so that'll give you the new modern concept of the great room. We took the old library and made that into a laundry room. Because I do a lot of these, and most of the time the clientele is an aging clientele that has money and a love for historical houses, we typically try to move the master suite to the first floor so they can age in place there. So we did the same thing here. There was one large parlor in the front that didn't really have a use. So we turned that into a large master bedroom with a large master bathroom, big glass shower stall, and closets. So the first floor will have a formal dining room, a living room, great room, a laundry room, and a master suite, and a powder room. And then upstairs, 3 bedrooms, a large main bathroom on the second floor, and then a large walk-in linen closet up there, and then the loft that overlooks the great room.
So one of the unique aspects of this project is that this house is going to be up for sale, and you want to explain
It's
that?
up for sale right now.
Okay, well, let's explain it. Explain it, and then what's going to happen with the money and all of that thing.
So one of the reasons that we try to do with the schools is because we know that they do a lot of projects and they spend their money that they get on projects, and then a lot of times that's absorbed in the project and then never to be recouped again. I believe you can correct me if I'm wrong. The school got a large grant to do this construction program, which would be depleted and then exhausted over time typically. So Preservation Clarkston made an agreement with the schools that when we finished the house, we would sell it to a resident to live there. That puts it back on the tax roll for the township, because during the park expansion, they lost 3 properties worth of taxes. And then Preservation Clarkston, upon the sale of the houses, is going to donate the money back to the schools to refund the construction program that they invested into it, as long as we make enough to do that, which we believe we do. We think the house is going to be somewhere in the $400,000 to $500,000 price range when it's done. It was built there, 150 years ago because of the view, and the view hasn't changed since it was there. So it's absolutely beautiful piece of property, and it's surrounded by a county park. It is closer to the road, but we put some sound deafening glass in there to help offset that, which worked out quite well inside the house, even though we don't have it insulated yet. So that's kind of the thing. So we are open to the opportunity. We have talked to a couple people. It hasn't happened yet, that if somebody was interested in buying the house and having us finish it to suit their build, we would be in a position to do that for them so that it would be built specifically for that customer who might be interested.
That's wonderful. Well, I know that you have a couple more events where people can come and talk to you this summer. One being Concerts in the Park, July 14th.
Glad you know the date. I had the other things written down. We have next Wednesday, depending on how this opens, is the public open house for people to see, and parents of the students to see the progress of the project.
So can anyone come?
Yep.
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 Okay, and
Anyone
walk
can
through,
come.
and the time is
4 to 7 next Wednesday. And then on the 9th of next month, we've partnered up with Buddy's Pizza to do a fundraiser. So if you order pizzas from Buddy's Pizza at Sashabon maybe and mention Preservation Clarkston, we get a portion of the proceeds for the pizza night for that. And that stuff's on our Preservation Clarkston Facebook page, the information for that. And then we've got a big, our annual fundraiser is going to be at the historical Brady Lodge in September. So people keep an eye out for that.
So even though even though you're selling the house, there is a piece where the money is going to the school, back to the
Correct.
school, or a good portion of that money. But you do need money for tradesmen to come in and, or at least some.
So there is things on a house that the kids can't do. So the school is limited to only participating financially in things that the kids can do hands-on. So there's a lot of incidentals that they couldn't do, like the glass in the shower, maybe the furnace installation. There's things that they're just not going to be able to do. So those are other things, the miscellaneous things that we need to. We would like to have the opportunity to build a carriage house there because there isn't a garage there. So if things go well and we get some funding, the kids would be able to do a new construction project on the same property at the same time before we sell it.
So this is really a win-win. It's a win for the students to be able to see the remodeling, be a part of it, be actually doing it. Is that correct?
No, this is win-win-win-win. The township gets a house,
Back
the
on the
kids get
tax
the
roll.
experience.
The residents get to have a landmark still there.
Well, and someone gets a very nice house.
Well, the schools get. I don't even know where you would go to get this type of education in the country. It's a pretty big, pretty
It's
special.
a very unique project.
Yeah, very special.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, and good luck on everything you're doing. We are known in Clarkston sort of for our historical preservation, and this is just one more piece of the jewel that is our township. And we do appreciate all the work you're doing. So thank you very much for being here today. And check out Facebook page, Preservation Clarkston.
Yep.
And contact them, see them in the community, and come out on the 4th of May?
Third.
3rd of May. Or
Pizza
Concerts
on
in
the
the
9th.
Park. What? I'm sorry.
Pizza.
Buy pizza.
On the 9th.
9th. Or visit them at the Concerts in the Park on the 14th of July. And check out what's happening in September.
And we got Elvis night for Concerts in the
Yes,
Park,
yes.
so we're expecting a big crowd for
you
the
bet.
King.
Preservation Clarkston and Elvis.
And Elvis,
It's
how
kind
about
of historic
that?
preservation. Thank you very much, and see you next month.
Thank you for having
Thank you,
us.
Joette.
Bye.